This conference will now be recorded.
If anybody has their phone on, make sure you turn it off. Please turn off the phone. Okay. Call this meeting order. Roll call, Shannon.
Commissioner Mural,
Here.
Commissioner Butcher,
Here.
Commissioner Compost,
Here.
Commissioner Gandy,
Here.
Commissioner.
Commissioner Ball, leaders in player and in pledge.
Everybody, please bow their heads. Dear Heavenly Father, first I want to thank you for the many blessings you bestow upon us. We thank you for our health, for the support of our community, for friends and family, for the provisions and protection of our lives as we move forward. We'd like to pray for wisdom and clarity during this meeting to be able to make decisions with a sound mind and betterment for our community. We thank you for the opportunity to serve our community with integrity and heart. We'd like to pray for our first responders, teachers, essential workers, and so many others who have worked tirelessly for our community. We pray for peace and favor over all of them. We pray our community will continue to grow and be blessed by you. We ask for your presence to be in this place with us as we move forward. In God's name, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I salute the flag of the state of New Mexico, the sea symbol of perfect friendship among united cultures.
Thank you, Commissioner Ball. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve the agenda as submitted.
Second.
The motion made by Commissioner Gandy, seconded by Commissioner Compost. Is there any discussion? There's no discussion. Roll call vote, Shannon.
Commissioner Butcher,
Yes.
Commissioner Bolt,
Yes.
Commissioner Compost,
Yes.
Commissioner Gandy,
Yes.
Mayor Trujillo.
Yes. Do I have a motion?
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion for consideration of the minutes of May 10th, 2021.
Second.
Motion was made by Commissioner Gandy, seconded by Commissioner Compost. Is there any discussion? There's no discussion. Roll call vote, Shannon.
Commissioner Compost,
Yes.
Commissioner Gandy,
Yes.
Commissioner Bolt,
Yes.
Commissioner Butcher,
Yes.
Mayor Trujillo.
Yes. Moving on to Commissioner and staff reports. Public Works Director Wyatt Duncan.
Mayor and Commissioners, just like to give a brief update. Myself and David Rodriguez set in on a Zoom go-to meeting with New Mexico DOT last Wednesday on the pre-construction conference for New Mexico 18 road work. The kickoff was at 1 p.m. that afternoon. Brief, just kind of an overview of everything going on. The contract time is 410 working days. So we're going to be with DOT for a little over 2 years working on Main Street.
So you said 18, right?
Yes, sir.
206? Oh, never mind. I'm going to change this where it changes that. Oh, yeah, but since they changed 206, I figured it brought it all the way, carried 18 all the way to over that. So
You said 410 days?
410 working days.
Oh, okay.
And the schedule, they're going to work 7 to 5 Monday through Friday during the summer. Winter, they're going to work 8 to 5. weekends, they have to notify DOT if they're gonna work any Saturdays or Sundays, and that's only based upon the schedule. If they fall behind, they might come in on the weekends and work. They give them a 90-day wrap-up time, so the kickoff was actually on May 26th, the kickoff for the project. So the actual 90 days will start on August 18th is when they will actually start construction. We did talk to them about the Fair and Rodeo at the intersection of Avenue D and Commercial, because that's their projected phase 1 site to start with all the dirt work and everything. So they are going to postpone any kind of road work or anything until after Fair and Rodeo. I've instructed them at least 2 weeks in advance and at least a week after advance, or after the Fair and Rodeo. So almost a month, 4 weeks total, that no blocking of any roads or anything. So during that time, they're actually going to do a pre-construction utilities during spotting all utilities, making sure everything's mapped out for anything, any problems, all the brand new utilities, water line. Did have New Mexico Gas on the phone line, and they do have one more conflict that they are going to be working on. I believe it's in Jefferson on Main Street, the crossing. So we might see some work in the next probably couple of months with New Mexico Gas, the same company that was actually on Love Street and doing some crossings, lowering some crossings. Actually, it was May 6th, sorry, 26th that it was started, the contract started. They are going to be having some weekly updates and bi-weekly updates that I will be attending. So any concerns or anything, I will be able to voice the city's concerns and everything, and report back to you guys every other Monday for commission meetings. My extension. Phase 1, like I said, they're going to do it and break it up in phases. Phase 1 is actually the Main and Avenue D heading east is going to be the phase 1. Phase 2 is east and west on the same highway. I believe it's 83 going that way. Phase 3, 4, and 5, that's when they start heading north and south, going down actually 18. So phase 1 and 2, they didn't really give an estimated time of how many months they would be in those phases, but they did break it up into phases. So once I get more clarification during the construction meetings that I will be attending, I will let you guys know, or any city.
And when is that supposed to start? I'm sorry, the date on the first phase 1?
Phase 1, August 18th.
That's over here. But
Yes.
about which is Main and D.
They didn't get one.
They didn't really give an estimated, Main and D heading east is where phase 1 is going to start. And that's with all lowering of the pipelines, taking up the road, putting in, mainly what I kind of got out of the conversation, they are going to start with the sewer, or the drain line, the main drain going to the pond. So that's everything that will be going in at first. And I get more clarification, I will let you guys know on that.
For the start of the project, Wyatt, this asking from you, if it would be possible, as far as getting the work dates and everything, can we get a pamphlet put together and we could have that?
Yes, sir, I can actually get their timeline.
Right.
Let me get DOT's and construction's timeline,
Right.
and I can definitely present that to you guys. And if
And we can have that in our meetings, and then we can go through it and see how we're coming along, if we're on time, if we're falling behind.
but this is the
And I
Mexico
understand.
DOT project,
I understand that.
so
I understand.
we're working with them on a portion of it, and most definitely we can definitely, I can get that timeline to see if they are staying on time with what they are saying. But New Mexico DOT will be on with constructors to,
Right.
as far as keeping the schedule of events going on.
So that means that way there we have something that we can see when we're starting the project. Phase 1 entails, phase 2 entails,
Yes, sir.
phase 3 entails. So that way there we have stuff in front of us so we can look at.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, also it's just good information for our constituents in case they ask or call. Please will have some sort of document and timeframe that we can go by and communicate to them as well as business owners. Maybe that's another step.
We are. I'll be working with the public information officer for the New Mexico Department of Transportation. Whatever information they release out to the public, we'll make sure that we release it on our platform. So we've already organized that with her, so we're on that.
And varying prior notice to any of the construction, they're already currently working on getting out the notices and everything else too. So we did another meeting we had this morning with the development on Cobblestone. We actually had a meeting with the developer and the engineer on that project. They are currently waiting on one more piece of equipment, or actually one more document for the lift station electrical. So that will be finalized and then move forward with the final reimbursement. So we're waiting on the final documentation from the engineer to get over to the construction company so they can finalize that. And as soon as that, I know it says in our resolution that 15 days they have, once the project is complete, to reimburse us their portion of it.
So you probably figured I was going to ask you again.
Yes, sir.
Correct.
Yeah,
Thank you.
no problem. But once it does, we're looking at roughly about 135,000 that will be reimbursed to the city. Yes, sir.
Good job.
And that's all that I have. Any other questions?
Yes, sir.
Just a quick question on regarding the splash pad. Part of last thing you said, late May, probably we're waiting for some parts.
I did get in contact with George late last week. He did reach out to the part supplier. We're waiting on one little solenoid valve. It's for the chlorine injection. We are going to manually inject and get everything operational so we can get the inspection on. He is currently waiting on a reply back to see exactly when that injection valve will be here. But we should have that up and running by the end of the week for the inspection portion of it. So we can get signed off on the state. And once that one part, so it will be a daily thing going out there and injecting, making sure everything's clean and good going in. But we can definitely get that started within, hopefully, I would say by the end of the week, if not next week, fully running.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Why? My only concern about everything, especially the splash pad, is that it sat idle for over a year. It should have just been press the green button and go. So when you, and I'm not speaking as the mayor, I don't want to tell you how to do your job, but I'm just saying that possibly, maybe since you're currently directing it, that they have some sort of program in place that it should have been, or we pressed the green button, it should have been tested and ready to go. Now it's completely.
Prior to, yes, sir.
We have a whole year, and for us to wait on parts right now, it should have been done last year. So that's kind of thing to me as a commissioner. So
Yes, sir.
you can look into that for us. Appreciate it. Is there any other questions by the board? If there are no further questions, I appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Moving on to city clerk, Shannon.
I have nothing to report.
Board have anything for Shannon? Moving on to Tracy, deputy treasurer.
I was gonna wait until,
Oh,
but go ahead, you're good. I'm just gonna introduce her. I don't think some of y'all know her. This Tracy Espinosa. She used to work for the city before. She's got over 15 years with the city. So her previous position was in the finance department. So she has taken up a lot of that, the role after Gary left. Brianna has also stepped up a lot and done a lot of that as well. But as of right now, Brianna and Tracy are the only two in the finance section.
is there any questions by the board? Tracy?
Of course.
That I could prepare you. I could not prepare you for that.
So welcome, Tracy. First of all, thank you for accepting the position. So just briefly, what do you think?
Well, I'm glad to do that.
What do you think about our finances?
I think it's gonna take some time, but I think we'll get it all back. One good.
Without getting into too much of it, I guess. Are you gonna be able to do it by yourself, or are you gonna need help at this point?
Well, I think between Brianna and myself, I think that we'll be able to get a lot done, but as soon as we get a finance director, I think it will go a lot smoother and be a lot better.
We want to get you some help, don't get me wrong. We want to get you some help as soon as possible. But we appreciate you being there to do what you've done so far. Thank you.
Thank you.
So you're getting acclimated pretty good back to the role?
Yes. Yes,
Very much.
thank you.
Moving on.
I'm good.
Thank you very much,
Thank
Chris.
you.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Mr. Compost.
Nothing here.
Thank you, Commissioner. Mr. Bolt.
Yes, last time I talked to you, David, you were talking about the Main Street project and the funding of that. And I made notes and I misplaced my notes. And I asked you if you could, as far as the funding of that, could you tell me as far as?
We have until next year, the end of next year, to spend the money. When I mean the end of next year, it'll be the fiscal year. So it'll be July of 22 by the time that money has to be expended. We did budget for the $507,000 under that grant project in this year's budget. So it is in the budget. We're just gonna have to phase it depending on the project that we're gonna do, and then go from there. Why it was told when you called to start working on those updated books, because obviously being 2 years old, those are probably gonna be a little outdated. So he is working on that for us as well, so.
As far as the Main Street funding, the water lines and all that?
The state has allocated that money, like, that's the reason I mentioned that part of it's gonna have, depending on the project that we're working on, is depending on how we're gonna expend it. But that money has been allocated, the majority of it has. And I believe with the way we did our budget, it leaves us a little flexibility to add money out of the GRT fund if we need to, and then go from there.
So as far as, we should be.
We should be good, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Another question I had, I asked you the other day, and you get a reply back as far as what's going on with the implant.
Evelyn will have an update for y'all on that part. I did give her the information to reach out to you. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Bernard.
I'm good to go at this time.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Gandy.
Everything darn.
Thank you, sir. Jaylen.
Nothing tonight, sir.
Anybody have any questions for Jaylen? Okay, moving on to Chief Lazaro.
Yes, Mayor, Commission, I reported last commission meeting about the libraries program. I was incorrect on the dates. They're actually starting June 1st, running through July 15th. Registration starts May 24th, so all the kids can get in on that. The youth center, this is their last week before we shut that facility down into hibernation. We do have the staff over there are being utilized at the library and also the senior citizens to help cover those public events there. Let's see. The senior citizens opened up last week. We had a few patrons come in, maybe 3 or 4 a day. This week, it seems like we're starting to see more. They had 6 today. So hopefully we'll start seeing higher numbers with that. Other than that, that's all I have, sir.
But I'd like to mention that the Navajo plant outside of Lovington did donate
Yes,
5K to our summer programs at the library.
yes, sir.
She just received that notice today, so if anybody catches it or if anybody from Navajo, show their appreciation.
Absolutely.
So how are you, as far as the employees at the youth center, how many do you have?
Right. Right now, we have 1 full-time employee, and then we have 3 part-time, or 2 part-time, excuse me. And those 2 part-time personnel right now are being utilized for the part-time events for the library as well as the senior citizens.
So how is that as far as having enough people? People for?
Right now, we're able to cover what we have. We also have 2 positions at the senior citizens. that we're going to be hiring for that were positions vacated after the freeze. So those are be additional personnel that we can add to that and hopefully bring in more events other than what we've got going on right now.
I was just wondering, as far as how your numbers, you said you're seeing an increase, and if you have enough personnel to handle that it's moving forward.
Yes, sir. Right now, we're utilizing the full-time personnel from the youth center to help cover the morning section, just for a few hours, and it seems like it's going okay right now. But if we do start seeing an increase, that we'll use some more of the part-timers to come in and help. One of the other things I forgot to mention is that the city is looking for sponsorships on the movies out at the park. Star has really kind of taken the lead on that as far as trying to get sponsorship to maybe offer some summer entertainment for the community.
How many movies were you intending on having?
We were hoping to have at least one a month, but if we get enough sponsorships, we can do two a month and utilize those part-time personnel as well.
Was that going to be as far as putting any more workload on city employees?
It does nothing. It'll be taken care of by the youth center staff. They're the ones that are in charge of setting up the equipment and taking it down. So, yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Chief, if somebody wanted to sponsor a movie, how much would that be?
The sponsorships range from $100 to I think $1,000. It's different tiers. And STAR has, and we've been promoting it on Facebook. I don't have the exact numbers, but I know it's ranging from $1 to
$700.
If you want to do a movie, if you just want to do the one movie, it's $700, and that it covers the movie cost and the employees.
and part-time staff.
And Chief, I was gonna say, a new station out there, are we having any activities or anything going on out there?
No, the only thing that we've had out there is the construction company has come in and fixed some minor repairs that have happened right there after or right before the warranty kicked off. So we've had some workers out there fixing some parts on the fence and a few things on the inside, but just minor things.
So no personnel directly.
Not out there.
Being occupied or nothing.
No, sir.
Is there any other question? Chief Lazar? Thank you, Chief.
Yes, sir.
Moving on to Chief Rodriguez.
Nothing other than let the commission know that I will be out starting Wednesday. I have to be in Ruidoso for chief's meetings Wednesday. And I'll drive back Thursday. We have an interview for the finance director position scheduled for Thursday afternoon. And then I'll be out of town starting Friday. It'll be at 5 on Thursday. Yes, sir. Other than that, that's it.
On the GRTs that you informed the board.
Yes, sir. I provided each one of you with a copy of the most recent GRTs. If you notice, they came in at $443,333 for the month. That is $36,000 less than last month's allotment. When we took over, we did the reduction. We were budgeting right about 450, 445, 450 is what we were expecting to come in. So we're right in the area of breaking even at the end of the year. The last portion that we did was going to be $5,400,000. That's what we had budgeted for. And looking at the numbers, I think it's about where we're going to be, because we only have 1 month left. And I think that's exactly where it's going to be pretty close.
Is there any other questions about the board or any questions? Commissioner Bolton, please. No. All right, moving on to city attorney left. Yes, sir.
Nothing to report right now.
Any questions for the attorney? Okay, moving on to public comment.
Howdy, everyone. I'm happy to be here in person. We're able to do this in person again. I just wanted to give you a little bit of an update on our new courthouse.
Judge, since we don't have the video, can you state your name?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry, sir. This is I'm Magistrate David Finger, the magistrate here in Lovington. And I wanted to give you all, commissioners, sort of an update on how our courthouse is coming along. Now, we initially had a architectural team in place, and as you're aware, the AOC and the state of New Mexico wanted to kind of create a little bit of a uniform design with Ruidoso and Belen. Those are the three new courts coming in, ourselves, Ruidoso and Belen. So I'm not, for lack of a better way to put it, there was apparently not a meeting of the minds when it came to the costs of this project with the previous architectural team. And it had to go be opened up for bids again, and I was part of the selection process. There were several architectural teams that put in for it. I think the architects from who were working on the district court put in for it. They didn't end up getting it. They ended up going to a company called, I think, SPMC, and I may be getting those letters in the wrong order, but SMPC or SPMC, but they took over the project, and when they reviewed the architectural design, they realized that there were going to have to be some adjustments to it. I had a chance to meet with them, and Mayor Trujillo and Chief Rodriguez also, we had a chance to meet with one of the architects there. He is actually the one who's retiring, but he's kind of updated us on the project. He also provided us sort of a rough floor plan. There were going to be some changes from the original design. One of them was that the courthouse was not going to be facing Main Street, but would be facing Avenue A, and it would be kind of it wouldn't be facing directly on Main Street. We expressed some concern about the parking, that that would create a parking issue, because one of our concerns was in Roswell, when you're going in, they were going to have the entrance to the employees off of Main Street. And I was a little concerned that because in Roswell, you have to sort of scan in, you have to pull out a card and scan in, that this could create, traffic on Main Street, because you'd have like the employee's car with their back end sticking out on Main Street, having to scan in, and then the gate would slowly open and then they'd come in. One of the nice things is meeting with, when the mayor and the chief met with the architect, everything we, all the concerns we had were very, they're very responsive to, and they indicated that, these things can be, switched around or changed around. So we wouldn't have perhaps Main Street access for the employees. One of the other things that they did talk about when we looked at the design is it's sort of based on sort of the same design as Belen. There is going to be room for a hearing room and a courtroom. Now this is good because as I've mentioned from the start of this project, the way Lovington's growing and the way our caseload has been growing over the years, it is not by any means outside the realm of possibility that by the end of this, the life of this court, which is going to be over 30 years or so, that we might have a second judge. Our caseload has has steadily increased, and now it's kind of stabilized a bit. But there was a while there in 2017 when we had 1/3 of the caseload of Las Cruces with 7 judges, and we had 1/3 of the caseload with 1 judge. So I realized that there was a possibility that we would get a second judge, and I know this was shared by all of you that when I talked to you, this was something that we wanted to have that option. If the state of New Mexico did allow us a second judge, we wanted to have the option that we had room for that second judge. But we didn't have a situation where, the judges were stepping on each other's feet, or they're sharing one courtroom, which kind of defeats the purpose of having that second judge. We won't be able to do 2 jury trials at once, but we would be able to have a judge in the hearing room handling cases like walk-in traffic tickets, cases that don't involve a jury. And then the other courtroom, we have the ability to have a jury trial. So basically the only thing we wouldn't be able to do if we got a second judge or a traveling judge is we wouldn't be able to have 2 jury trials going at the same time. With that being said, I don't think that's going to be an issue. We don't generally have that many jury trials. Things can always change. We can get, a couple of attorneys who aren't talking to each other or something like that, and everything's going to trial. But by and large, we only average, 1 trial every couple of months at most. So I don't think that's going to be an issue. There's also an area allotted for drug court. I don't know if this is something that the community or the county would look into down the line, but if they did, we have the space for it. Berlin did not have a need for it, so they converted that into clerk space. If down the line, we had a drug court, I was told that a lot of these are movable patricians, so they can, reaccommodate that if that comes up. So the design looks pretty good. There's a lot more space. There's going to be more holding cells. We will be able to ensure the safety of our law enforcement officers and our defendants who are in custody, because as you're aware right now, our current courthouse was originally a library, as you're aware, and so it does get a little bit crowded there when we're having like an inmate being led by one sheriff's deputy through a very thin hallway that's populated with family members of an alleged victim of that individual. That can be a scary situation, and this is going to basically allow the inmates to be brought in separately. It's going to have an opportunity for the attorneys to be able to meet with their clients without being locked into that little holding cell like we have right now. Right now, an attorney would have to go into that holding cell, and this will have, a separate room where, separated by glass, where the attorneys and the individuals can, the people in custody can speak. If any of you want a copy of that plan, I can email it to you today and provide that to you. My last meeting with the architects, they've been very elusive about a timetable, but we were able to pin them down a little bit, and they said that they anticipate that having the new design ready if everything goes according to plan. And they said, not everything goes according to plan. I think we here in Lee County certainly understand that. But if everything goes according to plan, they're thinking end of summer, possibly September, having the design ready to go and ready for groundbreaking. And he said that from that point on, it should be, again, if everything goes according to plan, there's no wrenches thrown into the machine, 10 months or so to completion. So we do have I don't want to jinx it, and I'm almost afraid by saying that, but we do have a light at the end of the tunnel of having our new courthouse, and I think that project is coming along nicely. But again, and if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them as well.
Commissioner?
What do you mean? Yes, I do have a quick question. Thank you, Judge, for being here today. I'm glad you mentioned that about the security, the officer security, the defendant's security, and obviously keeping the defendant's family away. You might have touched on it, but tell me about the waiting area, specifically, like say to the police officers. Is that going to be separate, of course, from the general waiting area? Of course, there's defendants that come in if they're on bond or whatever the case is. Is that separate from the general waiting area?
Well, in the courtroom itself, as we're aware,
That was the city attorney.
Wait a minute. You did that on purpose.
He did.
With the courtroom itself, it is, a public forum, so parties can come in, but I'm a lot more comfortable about the security leading up to that point. I mean, we can't, prohibit one group or another from entering a courtroom for any sort of hearing, because that's their constitutional right, and that is a public forum. The people of this community have the right to sit in on a hearing. But to enter into the building, we're going to have a security checkpoint. One of the things we did talk about too was the initial design was there's going to be small offices up front, or small areas up front, and I was going to reach out to both LPD and the SO to see if maybe one of these offices could be converted into use for a law enforcement officer. That kind of gets us, around having security. Maybe there's a possibility that an officer could be stationed there during our business hours. If you have somebody on who's doing paperwork or something like that, they could work out of the office there and maybe double up the security. That was something that we had talked about. And to get to the courthouse, it's going to be a lot more open, because right now, as you know, if you walk into the courthouse, there's a lot of blind spots. Somebody could come in, armed or whatnot, and get past the clerks. There's nobody to check them in at the door. This is going to create a lot more security in that sense. And they're also talking about, of course, putting in cameras, which is something we're excited about.
I guess I'm just curious about if an officer is going to be waiting for his case to be heard, where is he gonna have an area where he can wait, separate, away from the actual general, people that are waiting for?
Correct me if I'm wrong, Judge, I believe that they're still going to be basically the way they are now. They wait in the courtroom as well as in the lobby in the front. But there's no separate, if I missed it, but I don't think there's a separate room specifically for law enforcement itself.
There's not one specifically for law enforcement. There are several rooms. I know there's like an attorney meeting room. There's one attorney meeting room that connects to the, basically the holding cell. So it's like, the holding cell has a room attached to it, and the inmate can go in there. And there's going to be a glass where the attorney can then go into this room that sort of connects to it. And they're separated by a glass so they can speak with each other regarding their case. There's also like an attorney meeting room that's not connected to the holding cell. So any of these can be, and that's the one nice thing about this court is there's a lot of space. There's a lot of opportunities to convert, any of these rooms into something else. For example, we have holding cells for both the courtroom and the hearing room. These holding cells could be converted into something else if need be. If, like, for example, we only need holding cells for the courtroom, if we don't have a second judge, for example, right away, then we can basically have a situation, where the holding cells for the hearing room are converted into something else, and the holding cells for the jury or the courtroom itself are left alone. So that if somebody's being transported from the jail, we still have the holding cell for them, but unless we have two courts going at the same time with inmates from the jail, in these two different courtrooms, we wouldn't necessarily need both those sets of holding cells. So we have opportunities to convert any room as need be. And like I said, with the drug court, that's going to be converted into a clerk's area if we don't need it. And so we have a lot of opportunities there. I'm sorry, Commissioner Butcher, did you?
Oh, no.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I'm taking it all in.
Okay.
I guess I would refer back to, like, let's say, Hobbs Magistrate Judge, where the officers are committed to the back, and they're waiting in the back area. That's completely apart from where the defendants will come in and sit in the waiting room. And the office section is also separate, and the officers can go directly into the courtroom as opposed to sitting next to a defendant or their family, or, because they can be a tense situation for both sides. I'm just curious if that was.
Well, there will be a general area up front, where you can go in. So yes, the officers could wait there if they choose, we'll most likely, much like Hobbs and Carlsbad, there'll probably be seats there. And again, if we're not using the second room, the second courtroom, I should say, or the hearing room. And again, the hearing room is basically a courtroom that just can't do a jury trial. It's basically all that is. That can be used, for example, separating, groups, like if the officers wanted to wait there, they could most likely use that. But again, and when I forward you the floor plans, you'll kind of see that there's a lot of space that is allotted for something, but it can be, switched out to for just about anything else.
Yeah, I'm going to get that.
Okay,
Please, thank you.
Yeah, not a problem.
And I think to note on that is that there's 5 master courts being built, and they want to make it the same floor plan across the board, right? For cost and mission accomplished. And that's why, he talks about the space in urban rooms is because they're all going to be the same drawings, and that it's going to be for 5 communities for the cost. We don't get to choose our own, because we were hoping to choose our own, and found out we were not. And so the design is going to go with 5 different municipalities and work with what we got. But definitely, when it comes to Commissioner Campos, so everybody will get that, have some sort of input to the final design, the work final design. Hopefully, we can have some sort of input other than what we've got so far.
And I think that they've been very open to the input we've offered so far. And again, they've stressed that a lot of these designs, they're going to be movable partitions separating some areas. Some of these things can be converted with relative ease and then converted back. Like I said, if we don't have a drug court, which we currently don't, that can be converted into something else. And if down the line we do get a drug court, we can then convert it back with relative ease. So that is one thing I did like, having that flexibility and opportunity to that we're not completely set into, it's not going to be unchangeable once we get something else.
So right now, we're talking about engineering, we're not talking about anything else, right?
Right.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Jeff. Oh, yes.
Any other? Thank you. Like I said, if you have any questions, I'm always available. And after the meeting, just give me your email and I'll forward that to you.
Go ahead, Mom.
Thank you, Mayor and City Commissioners. I just wanted to tell you guys about our downtown mural contest. It will be closing this Friday, and what that is we got a grant from New Mexico True Clean and Beautify to beautify and increase community pride. And so what we are going to be doing is we are going to be drawing, or not drawing, but not me, but like the graffiti artist will be putting together 5 murals in the back of the Cornerstone Alley. That is what we are labeling or calling Central Alley. And what our hope and intent with this is actually to mitigate the road construction that's going to be occurring and affecting our downtown businesses. So we would really love to be included in any of those conversations to talk and make sure that we can relay that information back to our businesses. We also received 2 additional grants, one from New Mexico Oil and Gas Association, as well as Lake County Electric for electrical in that same alleyway. So we're basically going to create a very pedestrian-friendly space where business owners can have their customers come in through the back. It's going to be cleaned up in terms of weeds, trash, and all of that stuff. And we are still working with Laura from Code Enforcement to address the building that's falling on Central Street. We actually have a site assessment to Wednesday with New Mexico Main Street. They're going to be coming down and looking at some of the different stuff that we could do for that building. So we're really excited about that project. Like I said, we've been working on it for a while. And our first thing is going to be the graffiti murals contest that ends this week. And then we'll end it in August with an alley crawl, which will be a downtown event where we show off the murals as well as have some food vendors and live music to just kind of increase awareness that the alley will now be accessible for customers trying to come into businesses. So, thank you.
Thank you. Any more public comment? Moving on to non-action items. Chief.
It's actually the fire chief, wherever he's at. There he is.
Sorry. Mayor and Commissioners, one of the things that I wanted to discuss tonight is the possibility of a drought proclamation. I've been keeping an eye on the drought index for our area, and we have been in exceptional, which is worse than our, I guess, severe drought. And I was hoping that we were going to get rain this weekend and this week, and it might pull us out, but I think right now, just to put it on y'all's radar, is to look at possibly doing a drought proclamation at the next commission meeting.
So refresh my memory what this all occurs.
So with the drought proclamation, it just restricts the amount or the kinds of fireworks can be sold, as well as the times authorized to use them. It does set in the last code or code change, it set the timing differently.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
And
And
it'll be June 14th.
yes, sir. Yeah. And hopefully in years past, we've gotten really close to the end and then we either pull out of it and we're okay. But we have seen in years past where it's good up until right at the very end where we can declare it and then we end up missing the time frame to get it pushed through. So, and if this does get pushed through, it's able to be rescinded prior to the sale, but sale fireworks start June 20th and run through the 6th. 6th of July.
Yes,
Question, Chief, how often is this drought monitor updated?
It's updated once a week. When we actually set this, we were hoping to have another update as of last Tuesday. It didn't get updated until Thursday of last week where we're still showing an exceptional drought. So I've been monitoring once a week, and so hopefully we'll get another update by tomorrow, if not Thursday, hopefully.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
any other questions about the board? Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, moving on to action items. Do I have a motion?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion for ordinance 586, zoning change of the 2 tracts of property located within 500, 700 blocks of North Commercial and legally described Exhibit A.
Second.
Motion was made by Commissioner Bernard, seconded by Commissioner Campos. Crystal?
Yeah, Commissioners, this is the resolution you had passed on this zone change. Just, it's a formality. We did the resolution to advertise for the ordinance to change this zone, and all you have to do is approve the ordinance that we had submitted, and we're done.
Are there any questions by the board? There's no questions by the board. Roll call vote, Shannon?
Commissioner Gandy,
Yes.
Commissioner Compost,
Yes.
Commissioner Butcher,
Yes.
Commissioner Bolt,
Yes.
Mayor Trujillo.
Yes. Thank you. Do I have a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to consider resolution 2021-032, Parks and Recreation Board appointment.
You recommend anything?
We recommend Crystal Ball.
Second. Motion was made by Commissioner Campos, second by Commissioner Gandy. Is there any discussion? There's no discussion. Roll call vote, Shannon?
Commissioner Bolt,
Yes.
Commissioner Butcher,
Yes.
Commissioner Gandy,
Yes.
Commissioner Compost,
Yes.
Mayor Trujillo.
Yes. This will be on board. Okay, moving on. Do I have a motion?
Mayor, make a motion for 2021-033, approval of temporary street closure / blockage. Street closure / block party permit, smoking on the plaza, June 17th through June 19th, 2021.
Second.
Motion was made by Commissioner Gandy, seconded by Commissioner Bernard. Mark?
I'll just stand for questions.
Mayor, Commissioners, we brought this up to you the last commission meeting. Basically, this is the same diagram she presented. It just needs y'all's approval to allow for her event to proceed. The only streets that will be blocked off would be Avenue A, as you see there, from Main to Love. Then you have Central from, I just went blank on it.
Hey, part to the,
Yeah, it just kind of,
goes like this.
Yeah.
It says north on the corner.
there'll be, Love Street will be blocked off from Washington down to Avenue A. And Central, like I said, will be blocked off from Main Street all the way to east.
The north is down. Is that correct?
No, it's to your, down, you see the bottom of the picture as your arrow?
On your computer, it's down, yes.
Yeah.
You're heading south or north, I'm heading north on north.
Okay, I'm seeing north to south. Okay.
Sorry.
But the only road,
I think turn around.
the only roads that we close off, like I mentioned, would be Avenue A from Main to Love, Love Street from Washington to Avenue A, Central from Main to East. Those are the only three. Nothing on Main Street will be blocked off this year.
Anyone else really walked it over and everything? or-
We had to change it a couple of times because it wasn't going to be feasible for her.
And then I also spoke with the county, and the parking lot will be closed for contestants and vendors. However, it will be open for attendees as parking.
And what time frame are we looking? I mean, day is from Friday through Saturday or
So-
Sunday?
No, technically it closes Thursday at 5 PM and it'll reopen Sunday at 9 AM. And that allows us for setup, cleanup, and making sure everybody's completely off the lot by then. And I did also speak with the business owner that is going to be affected, and she was okay with it. We also came up with a compromise so that she could close the shop actually early on Friday so that her customers and employees would not be trying to park in that area. So.
That's good.
Good.
Do you currently have quite a few vendors coming in or contestants coming in?
So as you guys may be aware, the newest health ordinance doesn't fully remove a lot of the restrictions. So that being said, we are still trying to have caps on contestants, vendors, and we are also spreading out the way the activities work in order to ensure that we are meeting our requirement, I don't know, whatever the newest requirement social distancing is. We also worked with New Mexico Alcohol and Gaming, and so we're going to be submitting our permit for beer at the end of the month in order to meet their restrictions or their guidelines, so should be fine. Yeah, the ordinance is still really hard, honestly, especially for street festivals, because we don't have an occupancy rate in terms of like the football stadium, there's an occupancy rate there, but not for a street or a 3-block radius. So it's been interesting.
Any other questions about the board?
Just a quick question. Ms. Alcino, you have a certificate of liability insurance for Lee County and for Livingston, is that correct?
Yes, sir. And we will be posting social distancing guidelines or signs around the area, as well as hand sanitation stations to ensure sanitation. I don't know. Let's make it better.
So will they be plenty of dumpsters and different things to?
Yes, yes. Waste management will be providing 50 poly carts, and GWC will be providing their giant roll-off. And we will have porta potties as well.
You good to go, Commissioner Collins?
Yes.
There's no further questions? Roll call vote.
Commissioner Butcher,
Yes.
Commissioner Compost,
Yes.
Commissioner Gandy,
Yes.
Commissioner Bolt,
Yes.
Mayor Trujillo.
Yes. Thank you, Mom. Moving on to next item, do I have a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to consider confidential.
Second.
Motion was made by Commissioner Compost, second by Commissioner Gandy. Tracy?
She is a little stressed, if you can't tell. She's a little nervous, but like I told her, we would walk her through it. It's her first one that she attends. We would stand for any questions that you may have.
Now, there's one on the agenda that I see that's 5,000 for Rico. Is that just like, that's not once a month? Is it?
Page 1, copy of the internet.
That's monthly charge. That's for the internets for those facilities. It's a lot of, it's the courthouse, city hall, parks for the,
I was just trying to remember if it was ever, I don't remember seeing it that.
yes, sir. It's a steady price that we pay on it.
Okay, thanks.
Do we have pumps with them as well?
We-
Liquor, is that involved pumps as well, or just internet?
It's phone and internet both.
Oh, so it's internet.
So we're back with our health and wellness.
Yes, sir.
This month.
Shannon, when did that one start, the wellness center? It was on the last payables as well.
We paid 2 months, like, we were late getting the invoices.
That's right, we did talk about it.
But yes, they opened it back up, the restrictions, so the employees are back who wanting to volunteer on their portion of it. Yes, sir.
Okay, that's like about 2 months worth here.
And wellness prescription for development.
Yes, that's meds for the EMS, for the ambulance.
Medication for the ambulance.
Yeah.
Tracy or Chief? DW divers, DWD services, $8,000.
CWD divers, I could tell you exactly what that one is. Everyone tell them.
Cleaning of our well field tanks. We have divers come in. We like to have them come in every year to do our yearly inspection and take out the sediment sand from our wells. They took out 8 feet of sand this year.
Which was
The two tanks right by Navajo, the 400,000 gallon tanks.
Total height of those? Total height?
So I believe they're 30 foot. And that was actually 2 years of accumulation.
the occupied,
So that's bad now.
the occupied divers do that? The occupied divers do that?
Yes.
So the CBAs and everything?
Yes, they're fully suited up, full suits. They stand in a big old tub. They get hosed down with chlorine prior to, and they chlorine the hoses going in. Everything as far as the samples and everything being done.
There's one for Dimco, it's only for $10, but I just don't recognize the. Dimco. This one's familiar.
I don't know, I'll look at that one back and let you know, because all it tells us is the quote cart ID. So if you probably are correct, I'll check and let you know.
Yeah, I'm just curious. I'll recognize it.
It's interesting.
I really, really appreciate you guys keeping it to almost one page.
Pretty close.
Good effort, great effort.
Yes, sir. That's all.
So there's 2 charges for waste management in New Mexico. Any idea about that? I know that one is the usual charge, there's also almost $18,000 charge right above it.
Probably roll-offs.
That's what it is.
It is, it's for a little.
For the convenience sake.
All over. All right, thank you.
Tracy, on that note right there, maybe it's possible if you find time on this next board meeting, can you address the solid waste, where do we stand on the balance of it, income versus expense? So we can know what are we charging at the convenience station. Yeah. It's a long break, what we're looking at, see if we're breaking even.
Okay. Okay.
Is there any other questions about the board?
No, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Roll call, vote, Shannon.
Commissioner Compost,
Yes.
Commissioner Bowe,
Yes.
Commissioner Butcher,
Yes.
Commissioner Gandy,
Yes.
Mayor Trujillo.
Yes. Payables are paid. Commissioner Collins, will you lead us in closed session, sir?
Yes, sir. Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to go into closed session pursuant to section 10:15-1, New Mexico State Annotated 1978, subsection H7, pending or threat of litigation, and also subsection H8 regarding the purchase, acquisition, or disposition of real property or water rights.
Second.
Motion was made by Commissioner Coppell, second by Commissioner Gandy. Roll call, vote, Shannon.
Commissioner Gandy,
Yes.
Commissioner Compost,
Yes.
Commissioner Bowe,
Yes.
Commissioner Gandy,
Yes.
Mayor Trujillo. Oh, did I say that? Commissioner?
No.
Commissioner
Yeah. Yes.
You didn't say yes.
Yes, yes.
No, sir.
Yes.
Is that everybody?